When you think of Chicago's best suburbs, Naperville often tops the list. But is living in what's been called America's best suburb really all it's cracked up to be in 2025? After helping over 100 families move in and out of Naperville and around the Chicago suburbs, I've heard it all. So in this video, I'm going to break down what locals are saying about living in Naperville in 2025, from which neighborhoods have seen property values jump 30% to why some families are choosing to live elsewhere despite Naperville's stellar reputation. So this won't just be all good news, but also the honest truth of living here in Naperville. I'm Brandon Blankenship, a Chicagoland realtor helping people just like you move in and around the Chicagoland area. So if you had thoughts about buying, selling, or relocating here in the Chicago suburbs, I would love to be your real estate agent of choice. Just send me an email that is right here on the screen and let's get started. But to start with the con, one of the biggest downsides of Naperville is the cost of living. In today's housing market, as of 2025, the median home price in Naperville sits around $575,000, and that's well above the national average and about 30% higher than the median for the Chicago metro area as a whole. For entry-level homes, think 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses now typically start around $400,000, and if you want newer construction home in one of the most desirable school districts, you're looking at $600K and up, and there's not a ton of options out there. Luxury homes in the neighborhoods like East Highlands or White Eagle Club can easily run into the millions as well. Now, let's talk about those infamous property taxes. Illinois has some of the highest property taxes in the nation, and Naperville is not an exception. I always make sure my clients understand this before they buy as well. I've seen too many families fall in love with a house only to realize the property taxes are higher than they imagine. What I always recommend, especially if you're financing, is to make sure we run the numbers of what your total mortgage will be so you might know what you're getting yourself into. Beyond housing, the general cost of living in Naperville is about 20% higher than the national average. Groceries, dining out, entertainment, it all costs us a bit more here. Utilities are particularly high, with Illinois having some of the highest electricity rates in the Midwest alone. That said, incomes tend to be higher as well. The median household income is right around $150,000, which is significantly above the national average as well. So is Naperville expensive? Yes, it's not the most affordable place to live in the suburbs, but I always tell my clients to consider the long-term value. You're paying for top-tier schools, amazing amenities, high quality of life, and we've seen some strong appreciation over the years. For many families, that makes the higher costs worthwhile. But one huge reason it's not the cheapest place to live is because of the school districts here. So pro number one is Naperville is known in the Chicago suburbs for the highly rated school districts. Naperville school districts 203 and 204 consistently rank among the top districts in Illinois. Both Naperville Central and Naperville North High School are in the top 20 high schools in the state, with average SAT scores of over 12,000. What's super impressive about Naperville isn't just the test scores, it's the different programs and opportunities they offer for our students. These schools offer everything from STEM programs to language offerings and art education available to the students here in these districts. Here's something interesting though. The school landscape will have changed a bit in 2025, with remote and hybrid learning become more normalized post-pandemic. Some families are choosing alternative education models while still living here in Naperville. About 15% of students now participate in some sort of hybrid learning program, which is a significant shift from pre-pandemic days. The community college in the area, College DuPage, is another educational asset as well. They've recently expanded their technical programs and they now offer direct transfer pathways to top universities like the University of Illinois and Northwestern. Now, do the highly rated schools come with a high price tag here? Absolutely. Those property taxes we'll talk about later directly fund these amazing schools, but for many families I personally work with, the educational opportunities are what they are all looking for. And as always with schools, I suggest doing research of your own to figure out which schools might be the best fit for your kids in the future. But the high demand to live in Naperville does come at a cost more than just home prices. As Naperville has grown to a population of over 150,000 people, the infrastructure hasn't always kept pace. Rush hour in Naperville can be genuinely frustrating, particularly on major roads like Route 59, 75th Street, and Washington Street. What I will say though is that I lived in California and the LA area, and traffic here is nothing compared to there, and definitely much more hectic in downtown Chicago. The Route 59 corridor can get pretty hectic for sure, even after the major renovation a few years back. The stretch between I-88 and 95th Street can still become a parking lot during rush hour. What should be a 10-minute drive can easily take 25 to 30 minutes at peak times. Downtown Naperville is another congestion hotspot, especially on weekends and during special events. Finding parking can be challenging despite adding the new Washington Street parking garage. School traffic is another factor. The areas around the high schools and middle schools become congested zones during drop-off and pickup times. If you're house hunting in Naperville, visiting the neighborhoods during school rush times is always a good idea to see how the traffic flows in the neighborhood that you desire. Winter weather, of course, makes everything worse. A typical 30-minute commute can double during a snowstorm. The city has been working on traffic solutions, to be fair. They've implemented smart traffic signals on some of the major corridors, which has helped smooth out traffic flow. There are also plans for additional road widenings and intersection improvements over the next few years here in Naperville as well. One positive development has been the growth of bicycle infrastructure. Naperville has expanded its bike lane network and connected more neighborhoods to the regional trail system, but realistically, biking isn't a year-round transportation solution in Chicago's weather. Work from home trends have helped somewhat with the traffic situation. With more people working remotely at least part of the time, rush hour isn't quite as intense as it used to be. But as soon as there's a major event or a nice shopping weekend, you'll probably still find yourself sitting in traffic. So if you're someone who gets easily frustrated by traffic delays, or if you're used to a short commute, Naperville's congestion might be an adjustment. It's manageable, but it's something to be aware of before you move here. And like I said, I am going to keep it all real with you guys. However, the location is one of the major reasons people look to make a move here to Naperville. If you work downtown, it gives you plenty of options for commuting. The metro station right in downtown Naperville is on the BNSF line, and express trains can get you to Chicago's Union Station in about 40 to 45 minutes. And that's actually faster than commuting from some parts of Chicago itself. Now, if you prefer to drive, you've got easy access to I-88, which will take you straight into the city. It's about a 30-mile drive to downtown Chicago, which typically takes around 45 minutes without traffic. Rush hour can push that to over an hour, but compared to commutes in places like LA or New York, it's actually really good here. What I think is special about Naperville's location, though, isn't just its proximity to Chicago. It's how well positioned it is within the western Chicago suburbs. You've got Oak Brook about 20 to 30 minutes northeast, depending where you live in Naperville, with amazing shopping and places to eat. Bolingbrook and all its retail options are just about 15 to 20 minutes south, and Aurora is right next door to the west. This central location means you're never far from anything you might need. Major employers like Nokia, Nicor Gas, and BP have significant operations right here in Naperville as well. And the I-88 corridor is home to countless of major companies. O'Hare Airport is about 45 minutes away, and Midway is about the same. If you travel frequently for work, that's a reasonable distance for getting to the airport pretty easily. A major development has been the growth of electric vehicle infrastructure. Naperville has now over 50 public charging stations throughout the city, and they've been proactive about encouraging new developments to include charging capacity. But I want to be honest, Naperville is still a much car-dependent suburb. While the downtown area is walkable and you can get by with bikes and public transit if you live near the center, most residents drive to get around the area. And look, if you're making a move to Naperville, I would love to be your real estate agent of choice and help you with this move. Just reach out and shoot me an email, and if you're still researching, hit the subscribe button and like, because we drop videos like this every single week. But living in one of the most desirable suburbs in Chicago, you also get some great amenities at your fingertips. What locals love about living in Naperville is definitely the Riverwalk. If you've never visited Naperville's Riverwalk, picture a beautifully landscaped path going through downtown Naperville with fountains, bridges, sculpture gardens, and plenty of spots to just relax. They just completed the southern expansion last year, and another half-mile of scenic walkway and some cool gathering spaces on the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk is one of my favorite places to take a stroll on a nice day, and so much for other residents as well. You'll see families, joggers, people walking their dogs, truly the crown jewel of Naperville. Downtown Naperville is another huge draw. Unlike some suburbs that feel like just a collection of chain stores, downtown Naperville has real character. There are over 130 shops and restaurants, many of them local businesses that have been here for decades. The food scene has been exploding in the past few years. We've got everything from high-end steakhouses like Sullivan's to craft breweries like Solemn Oath. The 64 Wine Bar is one of my favorite spots on the Riverwalk to hang out in the summer for wine and appetizers. And my favorite since I was in school was Everdean's for a grilled cheese sandwich. For families with kids, the amenities are awesome. The Page Children's Museum is right in downtown, and my nephews absolutely love it here. Centennial Beach isn't just a swimming pool, it's a 6-acre swimming facility in an old quarry, and the Park District maintains over 140 parks and facilities. Something cool about Naperville in 2025 is how the community programming has evolved. The public library system, which consistently ranks among the best in the nation, now offers everything from traditional book clubs to coding classes, financial literacy workshops, and even tool lending. Naperville was also an early adopter of smart city technology. The city's app lets you report issues, pay bills, find events, and even see real-time parking availability downtown. For recreation, you've got unlimited options depending on what you're into. There are the Springbrook and Naperville golf courses, the Nike Sports Complex, and miles of biking and hiking trails that connect to the regional trail system here in the suburbs. The Naperville Yard Indoor Sports Complex that opened in 2022 is amazing with indoor soccer fields, basketball courts, and fitness facilities also. And I haven't even mentioned the events yet. Last Fling, the Naperville Wine Walk, outdoor concerts at the Pavilion. There's literally something happening every weekend from spring through fall. One thing I always tell my clients is that Naperville is what you make it, just like any other place that you live in. You can be as involved or not as you want, which is great. You can have a quiet, peaceful suburban existence, or you can have a calendar packed with activities and events. The infrastructure is here for whatever lifestyle you prefer. And there's a few interesting trends I'm seeing in Naperville in 2025 that might influence your decision to move here. The downtown area has become particularly attractive to young professionals who want walkability and amenities without city prices, and the new luxury apartment buildings like the Apex at 95th and the Water Street District apartments offer urban-style living in a suburban setting. For empty nesters, the draw is downsizing without downgrading. The Naperville area now has several 55-plus communities offering maintenance-free living while staying close to family, healthcare, and amenities. The demand for ranch homes and first-floor primary bedrooms has skyrocketed as baby boomers look to age in place. Another trend is the shifting work patterns. With remote and hybrid work becoming permanent for many professionals, the lateral movement from Chicago to Naperville and the surrounding suburbs has been definitely on the rise the past few years. I'm also seeing neighborhood-specific trends. South Naperville, particular areas like Ashwood Park and the River Run, has seen property values increase faster than the city average, jumping about 18% in the last year alone. Meanwhile, some of the older neighborhoods in central Naperville are seeing a revival as people renovate the homes here as well as updating them to their standard. And on the commercial side, there's been a noticeable shift in the retail landscape here in Naperville. While downtown Naperville remains vibrant, some of the older strip malls on the outskirts are struggling. The city has been working on revitalization plans with mixed success. The Route 59 corridor, once primarily big box stores, is slowly transforming with more mixed-use developments that combine retail, dining, and even residential components. And finally, there's a growing emphasis on wellness and outdoor recreation. The expansion of the trail system, new fitness facilities, and the popularity of the Riverwalk follow suit with this. All these trends paint a picture of a community that's evolving, becoming more diverse, more walkable in certain areas, more sustainable, and more focused on the quality of life. It's not the same Naperville it was 10 years ago, and it will continue to change over time. So there you have it, the real story of living in Naperville in 2025, with all of its amazing perks and yes, a few challenges too. My advice? Come visit, spend a day walking around downtown, check out the neighborhoods that interest you, and talk to some locals. Naperville has a different feel from other Chicago suburbs, and experience it firsthand is the best way to know if it's right for you. If you're thinking about making a move to Naperville or anywhere in the Chicago suburbs, I would love to be your real estate agent of choice. I've helped over 100 families find their homes around the Chicagoland area, and in the past year, I was the #1 Keller Williams solo agent at my offices. And I run the largest suburbs Instagram page with almost 80,000 followers. So I know the inside and out of the Chicago suburbs. Just email me at brandon.blankenship@kw.com to get started today. And before you go, if you enjoyed this video but are still curious about where to live in the Chicago suburbs, then make sure you watch my video where I rank the best and worst suburbs in the Chicagoland area. Click up here to watch that next. I rank every Western Chicago suburb from worst to best, so if you want to find out which one is right for you, then watch that video next. And I will see you guys in the next video.